We now arrive at Tefilah, the prayer. I mean, everything in our service up to this point has been prayers, but our sages called this part Tefilah, the prayer. I think as I understand them, it's because they understood this to be the heart of what we do. Now, those of us who live in Colorado, it's kind of like going for a hike in the mountains and trying to reach a peak to see that view. You just don't all of a sudden arrive at the peak and get the view. You got to drive to the spot. You got to begin your hike, and you're meandering on the flatter land, and then you work your way up to the switchbacks, and it gets a little higher, and you're more focused and intense. And then you get to the stop. And then you're ready to stop and take in that view. Feel that wow, that wonder, that quiet, that groundedness. Our prayer, our service works like that too. You just don't jump in to being at that mountaintop, so to speak. Have to, hike our way up there, to meander a bit, to get ready to occupy that kind of rarefied air and space. And so this Tefilah is that. We've been spending time praying, warming up those muscles, if you will, and we're ready to be at that top and to encounter what's there waiting for us today. Perhaps to get some insight, some perspective, or just some calm and quiet. So when we leave, we can go out and face the world a little more emboldened and strengthened. So our Tefilah is something we do every week at Shabbat, and the structure of what we do today looks the same, sounds the same, except we add in some things due to the theme, to the focus of these 10 days of Teshuvah. For those who are familiar, you'll notice those parts, so pay attention to when things switch up, even in the middle of a paragraph you might be familiar with. Or maybe there's a whole section that really is something new and different that reminds us it's not just Tefilah, but it's Tefilah of the High Holy Days. So we begin Tefilah in our flip book, Rosh Hashanah flip book, on page 42, as we begin to settle in to this sacred space together. Page 44.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Hasnei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi geula livnei v'neihem leman shemo be'achava. Zokrenu lechaim melech hafetz b'chaim v'chodvenu b'sefer ha'chaim v'chodvenu b'sefer ha'chaim למען האלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. וכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומק נופלים ברופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה.
And now we come to a part of our Tefilah that may not be so familiar. Insertion of those texts and themes that help us color these 10 days of Teshuvah. The Unatana Tokef prayer and prayers that follow may be some of the most well-known and even associated prayers with these holy days. They speak of these days in ways that are urgent and dreadful and awful. Within it is a litany that some of us recognize and familiar with, the folklore of God sitting up somewhere and deciding on how well our prayer goes this week. Maybe we'll be in the book of life, or if not so lucky, in the book of death. And for much of us moderns, we're not so sure what to do with that theology, that ideology. And we throw out this baby with the bathwater. But I think perhaps these texts, sometimes we take them too literally. They're not meant to be literal. They are poetry. And this poetry doesn't have to be orderly or make sense. It could be fanciful. All it has to do is push our buttons and make us feel and react and think. In the Unatana Tokef prayers, that's what it does. It tries to put those buttons to make us feel a sense of urgency, a sense of how we always stand on the precipice of life and death, and that we should live our lives each and every moment that way. So we can't fall down the trap of thinking, oh, well, this is how God works, and if God doesn't work this way, forget it. No. It's supposed to move us and challenge us. And this year, perhaps we don't have to conjure too much imagery or go too far to feel that urgency, that fear, that anxiety that these words bring us. Perhaps we're already there and can step into that and use that resonancy of the moment to give these prayers a different context, a different setting, to mean something different to us now, which will lead something different for us as we leave the sacred space and confines we create in our prayer community. So before we read and pray these words, perhaps the meditations, interpretations on pages 172 and 173 of the Rosh Hashanah flipbook may be helpful to you. And as you do, choose to use those or not. You can pause and just follow along. But we continue on pages 174 and 175 as we prepare for Unatana Tokef.
Unatana Tokef, Kiddushat Hayom. Unatana Tokef, Kiddushat Hayom. Ki honora le'ayom. Uvotilate malchutecha ve'ekon bechesed kisecha v'teshev alav amemet.
We continue on pages 178 and 179. On Rosh Hashanah, we plunge like swimmers into a sea of words. On Yom Kippur, the sea rises, then crests, and we emerge, sealed by the wax, warm by the fire of a braided candle. The New Year is like a trailhead, opening wide before us. The day of fasting, narrow, breathless, so quick to close. We contemplate a new year, and this we know. Some of us will live, and some of us will die. Some will die young, and some very old. Some by water, and some by fire. Some by sword, and some by beast. Some by hunger, and some by thirst. Some by plague, and some by earthquake. Some by stoning, and some by strangling. Some of us will feel at ease, and some will feel restless. Some will have peace of mind, and some will have strife. Some will be tranquil, and some will be tormented. Some will be raised high, and some will be brought low. Some will have riches, and some will be impoverished. Even so, the way we act, the way we speak, the way we meet God's image in ourselves and in others, these things have great power to make our lives matter. Therefore, let us make whole the broken shards, green and thick the withering grass. Let the wind fill us with an urgency for life. Let dreams give birth to justice and goodness. O God of holiness, God of hope, let us glimpse your truth as we attach our hope to yours.
The Rosh Hashanah Yikatevun Uvyom Som Kippur Uvyom Som Kippur Yehatemun. The Rosh Hashanah Yikatevun Uvyom Som Kippur Uvyom Som Kippur Yehatemun. Kama Yavorun V'chama Yibareun Mi Yihyeh Umi Yamut Mi V'kiso Umi Lo V'kiso. Rosh Hashanah Yikatevun Uvyom Som Kippur Uvyom Som Kippur Yehatemun. The Rosh Hashanah Yikatevun Uvyom Som Kippur Uvyom מיבה אש ומיבה מים, מיבה חרב ומיבה חיה, מיער אב ומיבה צמא. בראש השנה יכתבון, וביום צום כיפור יהתמון. בראש השנה יכתבון, וביום צום כיפור יהתמון. מיבה רעש ומיבה מגפה, מיבה חניקה ומיה תפילה, מיה אנוח ומיה אנוח. בראש השנה יכתבון, וביום צום כיפור יהתמון. בראש השנה יכתבון, וביום צום כיפור יהתמון. מי ישקיט ומי יטורף, מי ישלב ומי יתייסר, מי יעני ומי יעשיר, מי יושפל ומי ירום. בראש השנה יכתבון, וביום צום כיפור יהתמון. בראש השנה יכתבון, וביום צום כיפור יהתמון.
However, through return to the right path, through prayer, through righteous giving and living, we can transcend the harshness of whatever decree befalls us.
ותשובה ותפילה וצדקה מעבירן את רוע הגזרה.
So as we gather, however we do, in this sacred space we create in this part of our prayers, with the themes of Tefilah, the themes and focus of these 10 days, we take some time for our personal, private reflections. You may use the prayer book that's at your disposal. Just take the time to go within our own, your own, Holy of Holies, and sit there in that intimate, private space and see what that moment has to offer you. Prayers, wishes, dreams, quiet, silence, whatever's there for you. We take some time for our own personal and private prayers.
Shalom Rav, all Yisrael Amcha Tovim Leolam. Hu melech Adon L'chol HaShalom V'tov beinecha L'varech et Amcha Yisrael B'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך בספר חיים ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה ברכה ושלום נזכר ונכתב לפניך ואנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל לחיים טובים ולשלום